And welcome back to Eyewitness Newsmakers from your locally election headquarters. I'm Andy Mahalchik, along with our executive producer of special projects and, of course, newsmakers Jane Ann Bugda. Our guest on this segment is the Democratic candidate for the 116th district for the State House seat, Todd Eachus from the Hazelton area. Mr. Eachus, thanks for joining us tonight.
Great to be here, Andy and Jane Ann.
Okay, let me start off. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background, about yourself, and why you decided to run for public office.
Well, sure, Andy. Thanks for having me. I'm a kid who grew up here in Luzerne County. I grew up in Laughlin, of a son of a single mother, Etta Mae, and I went to Coughlin High School, graduated from Coughlin High School, then went on to college in Los Angeles at Pitzer College, where I got the political bug. I interned with then Congressman Jim Nelligan while I was in college in 1982. Came back, went straight back to the Capitol after I graduated. Worked for a short time as an intern with Congressman Paul Kanjorski, and then served as a staff person with U.S. Congressman Frank Guarini from New Jersey, who represented Hoboken, Bayonne, and Jersey City. So my stepdad, Sam Valenti, passed away in 1989, and I returned to run the family business with my mother and my brother Len Valenti over in Exeter on Schooley Avenue, and we were in the construction trailer and modular building business. I did that until I ran for the State House in 1996, where I won that race and served continuously through 2010, where I served in Democratic leadership as the Democratic Policy Committee chairman and the Democratic House Majority Leader. Since then, I've been in the private sector. I ran my own firm for 10 years. I worked for a national nonprofit called the Opportunity Finance Network in Philadelphia, doing low income and low wealth investment. And since then, for the last 3.5 years, I've been doing industrial hemp with my son, Nate Eachus. We've entered that emerging business, and I have a successful distribution business that I work very closely with my son, Nate, on. And that's what I do today.
And Todd, the reason we're here today is just to get to know you a little bit better and find out what are some of your top priorities of your campaign?
Well, Jane and I ran knowing that we have problems in Luzerne County, and that was confirmed by visiting with thousands of voters since I started knocking on doors before the pandemic. I resumed that door knocking, and it's confirmed to me that the reasons why I got into this race was that people were struggling. They're struggling with low quality education and high school property taxes. They're struggling with low wages from some of the most profitable companies in the country, somewhere between $10 and $15 an hour. That doesn't add up to much when you're trying to close the bills. And, in the end, also there are environmental issues, air quality. I now, because of the change in this district, have one of the dirtiest stretch of the Susquehanna River between the top waters of Mackinac and Shikshini to the bridge of Berwick. So, these are fundamental issues relating to quality of environment, quality of education, quality of life. And that's really why I decided to put my hat back in this ring.
Okay, Todd, what about of course, the COVID-19 pandemic? One of the reasons we're doing a Zoom interview is because of the social distancing and the pandemic. What is your assessment of how the state has handled the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, I can't say that I agree with either side completely. In a completely nonpartisan way, it seems to me that both sides have been just fighting with one another over relevancy. First, the governor, he did things that were fairly aggressive to stop the spread. And here in the zip codes in southern Luzerne County, where we have large industrial plants, we had a significant spike in COVID in April and May. At the same time, my opponent was asking to open the economy in April, early May, just as the mayor of Hazelton put on a pandemic. So both sides have been a little bit out of whack. Small businesses suffered in this, I would think, the most. And just generally the recovery of average people, working class people who, there aren't any super wealthy people that I know of in southern Luzerne County. Most people are working every day. The shutdown of the economy has caused significant economic hardship on many families. And we've got to get this economy restarted and get an attitude where we can begin to work together and not just squabble at the Capitol.
And you bring up the economy, Todd. So we want to ask you, though, how would you help bring back the state economy and bring jobs into the Commonwealth?
Well, what we've been getting for the last 10 years, Jane, and since I left, was the same playbook, the same kinds of jobs that our economic development entities, Can Do and Representative Toohill, have watched fulfillment center after fulfillment center after fulfillment center come to the Hazelton area, creating thousands of jobs between $10 and $15 an hour. We've lost our ability to focus on the next level of jobs, and those jobs relate to focusing on active broadband access and businesses that create a technology environment for all of us. We don't have those jobs between $30,000 and $80,000 anymore. They've kind of fallen out of the market in southern Luzerne County. We have to refocus our energy on really getting ourselves away from this same playbook and looking at the opportunities that allow for outside income to come in. We get very little outside income. And as I said, I've done low income and low wealth investment as part of my work in the last 10 years, traveling the country. There are parts of the country, like major cities and struggling rural areas, when they put together a good plan among themselves, they can get a significant amount of outside investments from banking institutions and others who are significantly interested in creating housing, small business investment. We don't get any of that. We need to rethink that. And I intend to press that with our economic development entities like Can Do and the other chambers of commerce up in northern Luzerne County, because we just can't continue to have fulfillment centers and think that we're going to get ahead. It creates a lot of jobs, but it also creates a significant amount of problems. Like in Hazelton, housing has become a significant problem, and crowding in housing. If you look at Hazel Township, they get all the revenue from the businesses, and Hazelton City doesn't see that uptick. They just see crowding and a shift in population. So we got to relook at all of it. I think we have to rethink our entire economic development for the region and refocus on a plan. Where do we want to be in 2040, not just tomorrow?
Todd, what about, everyone talks about like the weather property tax reform. Everyone talks about it. There was a tie vote several years ago, but nothing gets done about it. What's your take on that, and what will you do to make it a reality?
Well, in my time, I served all the way back to Governor Tom Ridge. We did pass the property tax rent rebate program, which is now part of everyone's tax bill. And we also, in my time, passed gaming, which uses slot machine revenue. But that revenue has fallen with the pandemic. Also was falling even beforehand. So we've got to get to the structural issues, Andy. But, you know, the Democrats in the state House and Senate have only been in power for 4 years out of 34. The Republicans and Tara Toohill have made promises for property tax reform, and all we've gotten in the middle of this pandemic are property tax increases, you know, and low quality schools. The other problem is not just the taxes, but the quality of our schools. Hazelton is 454 out of 500 in school performance, and Nanticoke is 497 out of 500. So we've seen falling school quality and raising taxes in the middle of this pandemic, all because my opponent continues to underfund public education and force our school boards and our superintendents to make hard choices.
Todd, we've come at the point in our program. We're going to give you a minute to look out there and tell the voters why they should vote for you for the State House of Representatives.
Look, post-pandemic, after this pandemic, it's going to require serious people with serious answers. I've always considered myself and my public service to be as high a level as I could possibly provide. I'm consider myself to be respected on policy issues. I spent my time the last 10 years traveling the country, focusing on low-income and low-wealth communities just like ours, who need to make tough decisions when they hit rock bottom to get themselves out of this situation. And all I would ask for is an open consideration. I've asked my opponent for 3 debates and have heard nothing since June 15th. I think it's incumbent upon us to have open dialogue hopefully next time more than 8 minutes and 40 seconds on WBRE. The issues are way more important than that. So I'm hopeful that you'll give me your vote on Election Day. I'll be honored to serve you again.
Okay, Todd Eachus, thank you very much. The Democratic candidate for 116th District, facing incumbent Republican Tara Toohill. Thank you, and newsmakers from your local election headquarters will be right back.